In 2017, one name exploded onto the Telugu screen, challenging decades of dynastic cinema and the dominance of star families. He wasn't just an actor, he was an instantaneous cultural phenomenon, the rebel, the anti-hero, the rowdy star. With back-to-back generation-defining hits, he was hailed not just as a star but as a movement. But fast forward just a few years, that massive, undeniable momentum didn't just slow down, it stalled. The signature rowdy swagger that once charmed the masses started to be perceived as arrogance. The industry outsider who captivated audiences began giving back-to-back cinematic failures, culminating in one of the biggest pan-India debacles of the decade. What truly happened? How did a star with such monumental hype, charisma and talent crash this hard, this fast? This is the story of the rise and fall of Vijay Deverakonda. We will meticulously trace his journey from the fringe of the stage to the very peak of superstardom and then examine the critical 2-year period where everything fundamentally changed. Was the issue solely poor script selection, or did the star, known for his unfiltered nature, ultimately become his own biggest liability with his controversial statements and the resulting public perception? Let's dive deep and find out where the rowdy star went wrong. Chapter 1: The Foundation, Early Career and the Outsider Tag. To understand the height of the rise, we must first appreciate the depth of the struggle. Vijay Deverakonda's origin story is essential because it immediately sets him apart. He wasn't a product of dynastic cinema. He was an outsider, building his identity far from the comfort of an established family banner. His initial training came from theatre, a grounding that instills a certain raw commitment to craft. His initial on-screen career was a slow, grinding process. He played minor roles, making fleeting appearances in films like Novella in 2011, learning the mechanics of the industry from the periphery. The first sign that he was different came with a well-received supporting role in Yevade Subramaniam in 2015. He demonstrated a distinct, grounded energy, but he was still a relatively unknown face. The breakthrough that truly defined his potential arrived in 2016 with Pelli Choopulu. This wasn't a typical mass-market film, it was a charming, slice-of-life romantic comedy made on a modest budget, and it resonated deeply. It was a critical and commercial success, establishing him as the face of the new-age Telugu hero, a relatable, modern man who didn't rely on over-the-top action sequences or stylized entries. This early success enabled him to craft his persona consciously, a look that screamed authenticity and rejection of the glossy, manufactured star image. This culminated in the creation of the Rowdy brand, a name that by definition implies rebellion and non-conformity. He built a direct connection with the youth who were tired of the predictable cinematic templates, seeing him as one of their own, an anti-establishment voice. His groundwork was crucial. It meant that when his biggest moment arrived, the audience was primed to accept him not just as an actor, but as a genuine cultural movement. The culmination of this careful image building arrived in 2017 with a film that became an instant cult classic, Arjun Reddy. This film was not just a hit, it was an explosion. It transcended regional barriers, becoming a national talking point. His portrayal of the volatile, talented and deeply flawed surgeon was raw, intense and shockingly authentic. Arjun Reddy gave the audience what they didn't know they craved, an uncompromising, messy anti-hero. Crucially, the film's controversial nature became a powerful propellant for his stardom. Initial criticism, particularly around the film's themes of anger and so-called toxic masculinity, didn't hurt him. It fueled his rebellious identity. The more people criticized the film and the character, the more Vijay Deverakonda stood by it defiantly. However, one performance does not make a bankable star. That validation came just a year later with Geetha Govindam in 2018. This was a complete 180-degree turn. It was a light-hearted, family-friendly romantic comedy that completely shed the intensity of Arjun Reddy. The film became a massive commercial blockbuster, crossing the coveted 100 crore mark. This established the pinnacle of his market value. Geetha Govindam proved his versatility and his mass appeal. He was seen as a dual threat who could deliver both quality and massive returns. With subsequent successes like Taxiwala and even the launch of his own production house, King of the Hill Entertainment, Vijay Deverakonda was untouchable. He was dominating not just the box office but the entire cultural conversation. The height of the rise was complete. The next phase, unfortunately, tells a story of how quickly that momentum can be squandered. Chapter 3: The Slow Burn, Career Downturn and Missteps. The downturn began subtly, a slow, continuous burn that eroded his cinematic credibility. Following his peak, his script choices began to show signs of stagnation, a critical error for a star built on freshness and rebellion. Films like the political drama Nota, the sprawling romantic epic Dear Comrade, and world-famous Lover failed to deliver the consistency his brand demanded. Critics began to point out a fundamental problem. He was repeating the aggressive, intense lover role, albeit with different coats of paint. The performance energy was often too high, too similar to Arjun Reddy, without the script's backing to justify it. The rowdy character had become predictable. The audience was expecting innovation and variety, but they were receiving a familiar yet diminishing return. The failure of Dear Comrade in particular was a major blow, as it was a massive effort that did not translate into the anticipated mass success. The slow burn escalated into a cinematic inferno with his highly anticipated pan-India debut, Liger, in 2022. This film was supposed to be his definitive crossover moment. It had a massive budget, a multilingual release, and the weight of national backing, including a partnership with a major Bollywood producer. The hype was enormous. The film, however, was a creative and commercial catastrophe. It was panned by critics and rejected outright by audiences, becoming one of the biggest box office bombs in recent Indian cinema history. This was more than just a failure. It was a fundamental miscalculation. It demonstrated that his brand alone could not carry a poor dated and poorly executed script across language barriers. The Liger disaster stands as the true point of no return for his peak market power. But poor films only tell half the story. The other more damaging element was the star himself. This is where the narrative shifts from cinematic analysis to personal accountability. The candid, unfiltered honesty that defined Vijay Deverakonda's early appeal began to curdle, morphing into perceived arrogance. The core of his fall is that the star's persona outside the screen actively worked to damage his on-screen image.
I do a film, Brad Pitt does a film, he'll get paid 100x more than me, just because more people are watching his language.
Throughout the promotional cycles for his flops, his interview statements were consistently seen as dismissive, confrontational, or overconfident. When a star is failing at the box office, the public expects a degree of humility or reflection. Instead, his aggressive defense of his projects was interpreted not as confidence, but as denial and entitlement.
Which is not my fault, but because some guys went and spread the language. I feel if our ancestors were more proactive and took measures to make the world speak Hindi or Telugu.
The first major seismic shock came from his commentary on democracy itself. In a widely discussed 2020 interview, Vijay Devarakonda suggested that not everyone should be allowed to vote. He went on to suggest that he would ideally like to be a dictator, stating, and I paraphrase, that a good director could tell people, shut up, stick to this, and 5 to 10 years down the line, it's going to pay off. This statement generated an immediate and fierce backlash. While his fans defended it as provocative, intellectual banter, the larger public and political commentators saw it as deeply privileged and anti-democratic. It showcased a profound lack of historical and political sensitivity, fundamentally contradicting the image of the people's star he was trying to cultivate.
I shouldn't make any more statements. I've been asked not to make statements.
During the promotional push for Liger, his team attempted a branding strategy that backfired spectacularly. They officially started referring to him as the Vijay Devarakonda. While many southern stars adopt titles, the act of self-proclaiming the drew a wave of online ridicule and media criticism. Many felt it was a blatant and unwarranted display of ego, especially when the star has not proven to be pan-Indian worth. This was worsened when his past statements regarding established legends resurfaced. Trolls resurrected his comments, indicating he did not believe Shah Rukh Khan was the last superstar and that he was in the running to take that mantle. After the colossal failure of Liger, these quotes made him an immediate target of ridicule. His perceived hubris was now being directly weaponized against his cinematic failures. The self-proclaimed "the" was quietly dropped, but the damage to his reputation was done. Furthermore, his troubles extended beyond mere film criticism. He quoted controversies that impacted his social standing. He saw the intense backlash and legal complaints over his alleged remarks comparing certain social actions to ancient tribal behavior. These non-filmy controversies were far more damaging than any box office flop because they affected his public goodwill and credibility on a social level, something that takes years to rebuild.
I don't have the patience for politics. The political system itself in some way is not making sense.
The public was no longer buying the Rowdy act. They were seeing a disconnect between the defiant rebel of his early days and the perceived arrogant star aggressively promoting a failed film. His identity, once his greatest strength, had become his greatest liability. So where does Vijay Devarakonda go from here? Is the career over? No. Absolutely not. The talent that carried Arjun Reddy and the charm that carried Geetha Govindam didn't just vanish. He's still a fantastic actor when he has a director who can control him. But the fall is real. He has fallen from the tier 1 race. He is no longer competing with Allu Arjun or Mahesh Babu. He is now fighting to survive against the next generation of actors who are hungrier and more humble. The path forward requires a total ego death. He needs to kill the rowdy persona, no more aggressive speeches, no more the pan-India delusions. He needs to go back to the basics. He needs to remind the audience why they fell in love with him in the first place. Not because he was a star, but because he was a damn good actor.
कुछ भी करूंगा सर, जरूरत पड़ी तो सब कुछ जला कर रख दूंगा.
The rise was historic, the fall was humbling, the comeback, that is still unwritten. But for that to happen, Vijay Deverakonda needs to stop listening to his own hype and start listening to the silence in the theatres. What do you think? Is Vijay Deverakonda a victim of bad scripts, or did his own attitude sabotage his career? Can he make a comeback, or is the damage permanent? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this deep dive and are interested in watching more, check out our teaser review of S.S. Rajamouli's Varanasi right here. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.